Good evening, Fernwood. It is your emotional baggage handler, Neil, and it's time for us to watch and unpack another episode of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Today we are watching episode 238 from March 2nd, 1977. We've been doing a little bit of resetting in the series this week, so why don't we catch up? A perplexed Mary was making breakfast for Heather, who is still quite intent on becoming a nun. She seems to be competing with one of the girls in school about her piousness, and thinks that it's more fun to be a girl in the Catholic Church than pretty much any other religion. Mary gets a visit from an officer who is there to investigate the missing baby Shumway. Mary doesn't have a lot to add, and the officer suggests it could be anything, including some wandering Romani, and Mary thinks about it long and hard, and essentially dismisses the thought. Howie comforts Kathy about her missing baby, and Kathy laments that she loses everything, and also lets Howie know that she doesn't love him. While Kathy is venting, Howie comes up with the idea of fronting a search for the baby using the radio station, publicizing, doing everything that he can, and he would like to inspire the same kind of hope in Kathy. Back at the factory, Tex and Vernon Bales remind everyone that they are awful bigots and that they are ready to tear people out of their homes. However, Vernon Bales would like to make sure that they keep that on the down low. And then back home with the Hartmans, Mary is hosting a party for the returned Patty, who is now free from jail and no longer on the run with the Romani. However, everyone at the party is in a funk, and this is a good chance for us to visit all of the members of Fernwood. Mary gives a speech to everyone, encouraging them to be happy, even though it seems like they all have dark clouds hanging over their heads. Vernon Bales shows up at the party, and it turns out that he is now the new neighbor living in the home formerly lived in by the Gimbles, the McCulloughs, and the Fetters. Mary introduces Vernon to the various members of the neighborhood, letting them know their secret problems. And Grandpa Larkin shows up with some bad news for Martha. She's been fired from her volunteer position at the hospital. And Mary ends the party asking Vernon Bales not to judge her neighbors too poorly. Things don't normally go wrong in Fernwood. And then there were a couple of mentions of characters missing small items. I don't know if that's going to turn into a future plot line, but I wouldn't be surprised, so keep your eyes open, and let's start watching this episode.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman! Could you explain something to me? Could you explain again? I know I've asked a lot, but what does that mean, the work incentive program? I just don't understand it. What is it?
Well, work incentive programs is that they take an 8-hour period, see, and they keep pushing it till you can't work any harder, you know?
Yeah.
Then they use that as an average, and then they ask you to do that every day, and then when layoffs come, why, bam!
You're out on your dinky.
Oh, that's not fair.
Oh, well, listen, hey, Mary, come on, let's just eat our lunch, huh?
All right. You know, maybe a petition could do the trick on something like that. No? Well, it is true. I did try a petition on the noxious fumes. That
Hey, Mary.
didn't help much, did it? What?
If you're concerned about noxious fumes, why don't you take it up with the safety committee?
You think I should? Where is the safety committee?
Oh, why don't you ask the chairman?
You're the chairman of the safety committee? That's terrific, Pa. You could help us get rid of the noxious fumes.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but it's not a safety issue, Mary.
Why not?
Because we complained about it a few months ago about the fumes, and they told me to stick it. Said I had a gripe. Take your gripe to grievance, they said. I said this gripe is about safety. They said according to safety, a gripe doesn't matter. If it's about safety, it's a gripe grievance.
You know what I should do? I should take it to the gripe grievance committee. Pa, do you know anybody who's on the gripe grievance committee?
Hey, don't look at me. Don't look at me. I tried it already. You know that. I had six guys. You were one of them.
I know that.
Yeah, right. And they had a grievance, and they took it to them, and you know what they said? They said that it wasn't a grievance. It was a safety issue. Safety issues are not a grievance. That's what they said.
Wait a minute, I gotta understand something. Are you trying to tell me that they said that they won't fix the smell because they can't decide if it belongs in the grievance committee or the safety committee?
That's right.
Unless Grievance wants to change his mind.
I told you, grievance said it was a safety issue. I told you that.
Safety says it's grievance.
Safety.
Grievance.
Safety.
Grievance.
Safety.
Hold it!
Hartman?
What?
Tom.
Oh, hi, Mr. Hi.
I'd like to have a little talk with you,
Mr. Bales?
and it's,
What?
it's Vernon.
Oh, Mr. Vernon. Mr. Bales. Vernon. Yeah, Vernon. I'm sorry. Listen, we were just discussing.
Just relax, be relaxed, just like me. We're old friends, remember? Yes, I like your pluck and your commitment and your wife. Even if she does want to redecorate the entire plant. No, what I'm trying to say is, I'd like to get to know you better. How about a drink with me after work?
Well, yeah, sure, but I can only have Diet Pepsi.
Oh, well, that's great, great. I'll meet you at the gate at 6.
Pa, isn't it nice that Mr. Bales belted Tom on the back like that?
Don't bet on it, Mary.
Your husband doesn't know when to keep his trap shut.
Daddy! George!
Very nice flowers.
Oh, kind of country, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
When the brass belts you in the back, Tom, kind of punch in the jaw, be far behind.
Hey, come on, all right, will you? Come on, you guys, knock it off, will you? Let me just handle my own self, okay? My own things.
Am I one of the guys that you're talking about?
No, you're not one of the guys, Mary. You're one of the girls.
So is that good or bad?
Well, it's good. Huh? You're my sweetheart, aren't you? Huh?
My God. Looks like visiting day in a county prison.
Howard Freeze, right?
Yeah.
You've come to interview the mayor.
Yeah. Well, a sketch, profile for WJGL. Yeah. You must be his niece.
No, Lila, the maid. Come on in.
Oh, sure.
You look
Thank you.
okay.
Oh, well, it's a new tie.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. It's just that you didn't look like one of those tricky ones that relax people and then they spill the beans.
What beans?
Oh, and you're not one of those high-pressured types. Oh, that's good. I mean, after all the other pressures he's been under.
What pressures?
Oh, well, you know how it is in public office. Well, just about everybody tries to commit suicide once in a while.
Suicide, huh?
Oh, I almost said something very stupid, didn't I?
Did you? Did you? Like what?
Oh, nothing. Oh, but please be kind to him. After all, it is a human life. And think of the spirit of the town. But I like John Denver best.
Mr.
Well, he's
Freeze?
my favorite Ray.
How you doing there?
Well, how are you,
Good to
Mr.
see you. Sorry
Mr. Mayor?
Jeter.
Mr. Jeter.
Yeah, you call me Merle, that
Oh,
matter. Yeah, how are you?
thank you. Oh, terrific, yeah.
Sit down. Wait. Before we sit down, if you don't mind, I'd like to tell you something. You have been just about my favorite radio personality for I can't even tell you how many years, and I mean that. Yeah, I just wanted to say that off the top. Get that.
Really?
Sit down, yeah.
Thank you.
Sit down there. Set your deal up there. And,
Right,
how about a drink?
right.
Would you like a drink or
No,
maybe a cigar or
it's
something?
fine. No.
You sure?
But I tell you, Mr. Mayor, do you mind
sure
if I
about
smoke?
that? No, go right ahead.
Oh, good.
Howie, did your voice just drop about an octave there?
My voice.
Yeah, just then.
Oh, we see. See, I'm about to record our interview here, and when I record an interview, often my voice instinctively slips into what we in the broadcast trade refer to as the broadcast voice. You know, I'm told Edward R. Murrow's voice used to do the same thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You really favor that man. Do you know that, Mr. Murrow? You do. I mean, right around through the eyes there.
Really?
Look a lot like him. Yeah, believe me. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. Well, see, what I'm going to do here is a series of provocative half hours of personal, in-depth, one-on-one profiles of public figures.
Right.
Profiles which I feel will will set the standard for anchored broadcast reportage for many years to come.
Well, good for you. That's great. Listen, could I ask one favor of you though?
Oh, a cigarette.
No, not the cigarette. The tape recorder.
You don't want me to use the tape recorder?
I really would rather you didn't, Howie, and I'll tell you why. In my experience with these babies, I'll tell you what happens. Everything you say into them comes out sounding exactly like you don't want it to sound.
Are you saying then, Mr. Jeter, that Watergate was just one big misunderstanding?
Watergate, Howie, is a good example of what I'm talking about here. Let's say that you ask me that question, and you can maybe you can not only hear me, but you can see my face. I would reply like, "Could be," but you got to look at my face. Don't watch me.
Right.
You know, like this. Could be. You see what I'm doing now? Could be. See, it's reflective.
Yeah.
It looks smart. You know what I mean? I look like I'm smart. Now, what happens when you don't see the face and you hear what's just on the tape recorder is it has kind of a tendency to sound dumb.
I see your point.
Yeah.
But, I've got one problem here. See, what I'm doing here is a radio show.
Yeah.
And, a radio show with no voices, I don't know, it sounds sort of lifeless.
If you know what I mean. I appreciate the problem. I know your problem.
Yeah.
It's time for your pill.
Yeah, just set it down
right
there.
there.
Yeah, put her down there. Thank you. I know what you're talking about there, but it seems like we got to have some kind of a compromise here, with the problem we got. What do you?
All right. Well, let's give it a whirl. All right, and I'll tell you what. Now, if I get a little too pressured for you, or if we get a little off the track, all you have to do is just punch this button right here.
Right. No, I know the button to punch there.
Okay. Good. All right. Here we go. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Fernwood.
You stopped my recorder.
If I could just have a second to collect my thoughts, to formulate them, so to speak. You understand? Censorship, Howie, believe me, is a word that to Merle Jeter is almost, I'd put it in a class of being like a foreign word.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, could you comment on your campaign pledge to prosecute industrial polluters?
I'm sure you're talking about the facility here in town, the auto plant, and the pollution that stems therefrom. On that, I would say, if we're going to tell them to stop air pollution, Howie, the next thing you know is we're going to turn around and tell them to stop pollution in Hong Kong.
Excuse me?
Well, they're going to close the plant. I mean, they're going to lay everybody off in town. You know that.
Have they threatened to do this already?
What has happened is they haven't, officially come out and made a statement on that, but everybody that's in the know is aware of that fact. They're going to close those babies down. I tell you what, if I could make another suggestion here, if we could try to avoid beating a dead horse like we're doing right now. If we could just go on to something a little more important, you know what I mean?
Okay. I got one right here. Let me just human interest. There's been a lot of talk in the press on the pressure on public figures.
On that one, I would say that you've touched on something there that's a little bit sensitive at this time, Howie. last week I had an unfortunate experience with a little pill overdosing, as you may have heard, and of course a bunch of silly rumors started around town, and I would just like to let those babies, die of a natural death.
But, I've heard some specific stories about this, and,
well,
I thought that maybe...
I tell you. No, I understand. I understand what you're talking about. You're talking about my health and my appearance and everything else. But you're sitting here now, you're looking at me, and to me, I don't know, I seem like a picture of health to my own self, not, in all modesty and everything, but I certainly, even more than that, I think I give the appearance of being a happy person, a happy individual. I would even say that I'm in the top 4, maybe 4.5% of the happy people in the country at this time.
Craig, I have really enjoyed talking with you. I really.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think we got it.
Hey,
I really do. Yeah.
Terrific.
I think it's gonna be a
I hope
terrific
so.
story. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope
yeah,
so.
I
Listen,
think it's really
let me
gonna be
ask you
good.
something.
Yeah.
Could we just
Yeah.
hear it before you leave? Could we
mhm.
hear a replay of it, or is that possible?
A playback.
A playback. Whatever you call it.
Sure. A playback.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. I'll just rewind it here.
Good. Nice looking
And-
tie you got there.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Okay. And here we go.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Fernwood.
I think we got it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And don't worry. We can't edit it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You guys know what you're doing. Let's know what the
it's a
question.
terrific story.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely.
I think it's one hell of a story.
Okay,
as a matter
great,
of fact.
great.
And,
I hope so.
And it will really knock them dead.
Good.
Really, yeah.
And listen, hey,
And,
will you promise me something?
sure.
Listen, don't take another step. Promise me something right now.
What?
Don't be a stranger to this house, okay? Or my office downtown.
No,
All
no,
right?
no.
Okay. I like you, boy.
We
Really.
should get together. Really,
All right, good.
really.
We'll do
okay,
that.
yeah.
Anytime.
All
You
right.
give me a call.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, you forgot to take your pill.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. I'm sorry to barge in like this. I know you're working at the plant, and I heard about the tragic kidnapping of Kathy's baby.
Oh, no, that's okay. Listen, Pat, do you mind very much if we just tiptoe you and sit you right over on that counter over there? Would that be okay for you? Okay? Will you just sit? You hop up right up onto the counter here while I save steps. At the moment, the kitchen is a very critical area. I mean, this stuff, I found this stuff that is so incredible, it removes itself as it goes on. I mean, this ends up built up forever. I mean, I'm sure of this, and you know how very skeptical I am about most products. I mean, you know that. Oh, and by the way, Pat, don't worry about Kathy and the baby. I mean, don't worry about it. There is nothing to worry about. I mean, that baby will be back. I mean, you know, Pa was gone and he came back. Loretta was gone. She came back. Daddy was gone. He came back. You don't have to worry. Fernwood is a place where miracles do happen.
You don't think Garth will come back, do you, Mary?
Oh, no. I think that once Reverend Berryfield buries someone, that's it. He's gone forever. God, he is so good, that guy.
Mary,
What?
in a few moments, I'm going to be gone, too.
Oh, but it's not like Garth. I mean, it's a whole different thing. I mean, see, you know, you'll be back. You know, it's like if Loretta leaves or Charlie leaves or something like
I
that.
don't think so. For visits. Oh, I'll come back for visits. That's for sure.
Well,
and
that-
real soon, too.
Well, I'm glad about that because I certainly don't want you to remember with a half waxed up floor because you know how you get a picture in someone's mind.
Mary, no. Now, when I think of you, I will not be thinking of you because I'm thinking of your floors. I mean, I will remember you as a person who was always there when I needed you, even when I didn't need you.
Oh, man.
And you knew me more than I knew myself. And I'll remember you as the person who saved my life.
I think that's the door.
I think so too.
You know, Pat, I find when I'm on all fours, I can put more of my pressure on my arms.
Uh-huh.
Oh, hi, Mary.
Hi.
It's Pat.
Hi, yeah, hi. Pat,
Not ready
listen,
to take off?
Yeah, she is. Why don't you, Pat, do me a favor and just take him, and put him on the table over there, okay? Could you bear with us, please? Could you just very lightly, just tiptoe on that foot? Thanks very much. Just bear with us. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. Okay, and please, just if you could just stay a few moments, just until this wax that I've laid out dries,
Nat's going to write a book about me.
It was going to be a straight biography, but that would have been really hot if Pat had got the electric chair. But the theme now is going to be wife abuse. That's getting pretty big now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to do social welfare work and help Nat with more cases. Is the time up yet, Mary?
No. I'm sorry. I don't understand the thing. I mean, Pat, how are you gonna, forget the past if you're gonna, keep reliving it every day like that?
Mary, I'll be dealing with it.
You are leaving, aren't you? I have a present that I wanted to give you privately that I just felt a certain kind of, dignity about giving it in front of everyone. But let me look for it, okay? And I'll see if I can find it, okay? So I'll give it to you. I had it here. I must have put it somewhere else. No, it's here. I had it. Let me check another spot here. On this one. No, it's funny. It's not here. It's missing. It was one of those circle pins, that meant a great deal to me.
I don't need a pin. You saved my life.
And you think that is enough to remember me by?
We really must be pushing on, Pat.
Oh, could you just, be careful, okay? Just be careful. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pat. Please don't go yet. Just like a few more seconds or something like that. Okay? Oh, God, I miss you so much. I want to miss you, and I love you so much.
You were the sister I never had.
I know, me too.
Coming, Nat! Okay. Mary, let's stand up. Okay, Mary, let's just sit down. Right over here. Okay? Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Forever. And goodbye, perfect wax job.
Goodbye, Pat Gimble. You've been with us over 100 episodes since the start of season 2, and it's been a roller coaster ride. I know I'm going to talk more about you when we actually get to your scene, but I'm glad to have known you. And this episode, I think this week, has been transitioning back to whatever the next phase of Mary Hartman is going to be. The last couple of episodes were really setting the ground floor for Mary and the Shumways and the Jeters, And here we see Mary in the factory, and this is the first time I've seen Tom and Mary in the factory after Mary got the job there. And Mary is coming to understand the labor side of the production that happens there. There's a bit of bickering because real complaints aren't landing anywhere because no one can agree where they go. It sounds like a really toxic place, and it always has. I remember last season that Tom was very intent on improving conditions at the factory. Like, his troubles with alcohol started when those efforts started to run into walls. I think it's good for Mary to hear this side of the equation because she really kind of messed things up the other day when it came to the factory, and she maybe didn't understand exactly how much she was hurting the people around her. And then Vernon Bales shows up and he's glad-handing Tom, and we know Bales' agenda. I don't understand how you can run a place in such a toxic manner and yet expect your employees to be friendly with you. Vernon Bales seems to be the boss, and he would be, I think, the place where all of these complaints would land. In the end, right? He's the top of the ladder inside of this factory, and everyone who works there finds it to be toxic and soul-crushing. And then Vernon Bales, with his racist agenda, which wasn't mentioned this episode, but if you've been watching this week, you know exactly how awful he is. We also know that his agenda includes recruiting Tom and Mary. I don't believe that Tom and Mary are bigoted, so I'm not sure how they would hide exactly what the GGG's goals are from them. I think also strange to have this discussion of racism on a show where I can count on one hand the number of people of color I've seen on over not quite a year and a half. And those characters tend to be written off very, very quickly. And as an actor of color, I definitely would love to see more people of color represented. It was the 1970s, and there was still a long way to go at that point. There's still a long way to go now, but at that point in the 1970s, it was pretty revolutionary to see non-white people on TV. And the Jeffersons would have been a couple of years before this. 1975 was when that show aired, but television still felt very segregated, as I think it would remain for decades to come. And I think it still feels that way up until very, very recently. We've talked about some shows I feel represent a wider spread of the populace. Anyway, that's my personal tangent. Let's get back to the scene. Because we know that Vernon Bales wants Mary and Tom in the group. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. And I find this GGG to be quite terrifying. I suppose we can only watch and find out with regard to this. This seems to be the major plot line underlying the factory in Tom and Mary's life. I expect we're going to see more about it soon. And then Howie comes to the Jeter residence and meets Lila, who is doing her best to sabotage Merle's life. Not just his life, his career. She plants the seed of suicide in Howie's mind. It doesn't seem to take, at least at this moment. And then Howie and Merle actually have their interview, and as a person who has done a number of interviews, I find not having a recorder to be quite odd, and especially for radio interview, well, it doesn't quite make sense. Merle is dancing around every subject and isn't allowing anything to be recorded except for one phrase, which would happen to be the title of the show you're watching right now. And that, if you didn't catch it, was...
Good evening, Fernwood.
I love the bit where Howie's voice dropped. As someone who dabbles in voice work, it's fun to see someone just have an unconscious drop of their voice. And Howie leaves after getting practically nothing. And then Lila makes sure that Merle takes his pill. We know she has replaced the contents of at least one capsule with poison. So yuck. And then back in the kitchen, and Mary is in housewife mode with a new floor product. I feel like it's a bit of a callback to episode 1 with the waxy yellow buildup, even with her life in the factory, just as obsessed with keeping house and keeping things pristine and perfect, which must be exhausting. She gets a visit from Patty, who is there to say goodbye. And I was surprised exactly how much I felt this goodbye, because Patty has been through a lot on this show. Some of it silly and some of it quite horrifying. And I like that they have given Pat this sense of closure with regard to the show, right? Because she is going on with Nat, and she's going to be working through the trauma, it appears. She's going to be working to help advocate and empower women who've been through experiences like her. That is amazing to me. That is such growth. I guess it's sad that we won't really find out how she and Philip get along, but we'll just have to assume that things will go well in the long run. What struck me was when Mary switched out of housewife mode and into I'm gonna miss my friend. That, I think, made it more powerful. Nat was on an agenda to get out. That's where the episode ends. Yeah, I just have feelings. Really glad that this is where Pat ends. Well, everyone, that is our midweek episode. Thank you so much for watching with me. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions in the comments. Thank you for just being real human beings. And we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.